Hello, viewers. I'm SB, and welcome back to Sleeper Citizen 2, even. Citizen Sleeper 2. All the words are there. All the thoughts and sounds are present. They're not always in the right order. Where we are, deep in this radiation band here, in the remnants of Hexport, looking for stuff, and for very much for real on the clock, doing so. So, let me refresh here. The two nodes we have available are Interface, Endure, and we have pretty bad dice for these. And down in the epicenter, Engage and Intuit, which is better. I mean, at least, Kadet can do some work here. Kadet can do some work. So here's the question. Am I going to push for Nia? Or are we going to accept the... I mean, it's a 4 and a risky, right? And this might be a good opportunity to just not push. Save it for tomorrow. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to try to go into the end of today having no stress. So here we go. Factory Row was obliterated in the blast, but what was the cause and type of explosion? Looking at the debris patterns and the remaining sections of station should indicate the nature of the explosion. In theory. Gosh, I hope so. Nope, negative outcome. Damn. Alright. Debris is so scattered it seems impossible to see any patterns within it. Well, we're gonna hope to not get a terrible outcome here. The debris itself, of course, is the most useful clue here, and searching through it might yield results. Maybe. Let's see. Okay, got our positive. Among the debris, there are dark black shards, easily recognizable as pieces of Conway drone hull. Huh. God, that is so many. It is so many pips. Okay, well, let's nail another one of those, and then, So we know that the negative result on this is +1 stress, which makes me pretty reluctant to try it with the dice we have here. I can go into Search for Survivor with a 5. Because, on this one, we're -2, right? So both of our dice are effectively 1. I might be willing to play a 3 into Trace Broadcast. I'm gonna try it. I think I like this better than playing a 5 into Search for Survivor, because the neutral result here will almost certainly stress us, whereas a neutral result on a risky might not. And obviously there's a chance of the negative here, but we just cross our fingers on that. And then also that thing happens sometimes. That ghostly broadcast came from the docks. Is someone hiding out here? That broadcast definitely came from the docks. Boy, we sure are certain of that thing that we're apparently only learning now. The search area gets narrower with each scan, but not so narrower. It's a scary amount of progress we have to make in this amount of time. Here we go. Day 2. Show me high numbers? Okay. Some high numbers. Let's head down to the epicenter here, and there's no sense in not just chucking Nia's dice in now, right? Because Nia's minus on both of these. Yeah, so Nia really only has one spot that it makes any sense to play her dice. Alright, ++ on the blast analysis. Factory Row was destroyed. The explosion doesn't seem to have been from the inside out. Well, isn't that interesting? So we need 2 more good results on this one. I am inclined to pay attention to the dock with the rest of our dice for the moment, I think. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking, if we finish off the other one and all that's left is the dock tomorrow, Nia's dice are going to be basically useless, right? Oh, plus Kadet's dice are only useful in the other slot anyway. I think this might be a push, though. This might be pushed so that Kadet has something to do. because I don't necessarily feel comfortable using either of her dice if we don't push. Oh, yeah, no, they're both just like really bad at that. Okay, let's go ahead and throw a search for survivor. The voice on the broadcast must be a survivor. The signal came from the docks, so search starts here. Please show me 3 pips. Awesome. There are no ships docked to the station. They all left. That means they were warned. Yeah, that's a fair point. I am probably willing to throw some 5s on this now because I'm getting a little nervous about the time. Yeah, let's do it. Please show me positives. Okay. So we need one more hot result. The neutral probably still gets us at least +1. +2 even. Really, it's not that bad. And then we just have to get a little bit lucky. So the question is, am I pushing Kadet? Because the thing is, we don't know exactly what is left, right? If I push Kadet, we for sure get a 2-pip, and then I probably do just go ahead and, well, it'll be a 6 and a 5, right? That's right, we're at +3 on each die. So odds are pretty good that we clear. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Hopefully this doesn't screw us up too bad. All right, and here's hoping for the positive result. Okay, well, it turns out neutral outcome's good enough. The debris tells the story of Hexport's demise. You only need to know how to listen. You float in the pieces of what was once Factory Row. There's little way to see what these pieces once were, scattered and scorched as they are. You cannot assemble them back into that place in your mind, and the longer you've searched here, the more this broken place has weakened your memory of when it was whole. But you have managed to put something together here, part of the story of Hexport's final moments. That story is told in the blast marks on the exterior plates, the patterns of debris, the materials and makeup of the station's remains. Beyond that, one other thing is remarkable. There aren't any bodies. It seems that Hexport had some warning. I would say quite a bit of warning, apparently. The lack of docked ships, the lack of mass casualties, though the explosion surely killed many, it all suggests a station that had time to react, to at least evacuate in part. And then there's the blast, an explosion that the evidence points to as coming from the outside of the station. It's hard to tell, as so much secondary damage was caused by debris and shrapnel, but the pattern is there if you look. Something catches your eye, and you look over to see Kadet arriving alongside you, studying the same debris as you. I don't think we're going to try to intuit anything about this. Hey, what do you think? It's really a shame that it's Kadet here instead of Nia, who would actually be good at answering that question. I think, her voice crackles through the comms link, whoever did this is a monster. The explosion came from outside. Kadet shakes her head. Maybe a Conway drone, called it here by the drone mind as they dissected it? An attempt to destroy itself and the data before it fell into someone's hands? You look at the remains of the station. Could it be that simple? The drone mind, in its desperation, calling in a strike on itself? But then, who was taking the drone apart and scraping its secrets? No, it doesn't feel quite right. Nothing here does. In the end, there's only one conclusion. Those who brought the drone mind to Hexport, who dug into its code and systems while it was alive, they ended the station. Okay, so I think we have to... what do I think a neutral result looks like here? A negative result is almost certainly stress, right? I think I have to just let these ones go. I don't think it makes any sense to try to use them even on an only risky check. Okay, didn't lose any dice yet. You feel it the moment you wake. A flicker at the edge of your perception. A sensation beyond your body. A blinking, a tugging, and then numbness as something shuts off within you. The panic is instant. the feeling of something not being right within you spiking your fear. But no pain comes, you feel no further shifts, and as time stretches out, you settle again. You calm yourself. You know immediately that this is what Bliss was referring to. Your frame's decline, the one the reboot should reverse. You flex a little, feel your body, try to ground yourself in it. It will not collapse this cycle, but something has changed. This is how it will be until the reboot. You hope you have long enough to finish what you must. You begin the cycle slowly, holding the pieces of yourself together. You try not to let your thoughts wander to darker things, and fix your eyes on the tasks ahead. The belt drifts past the window, following a flow of its own, expanding, collapsing, shifting in its own way, probably. People say it is drifting away, getting further from Helion's star, that one day it will drift out of the system altogether into interstellar space. You find a strange solace in that. Somehow, knowing that entropy is the way of the universe makes your own decline palatable, at least for a little longer. Okay, so we gained a point of glitch. I was gonna say, don't you dare take away my dice. These dice are like exactly what we need. So we can clear this on a 4 and hold these other dice for whatever comes next. The hissing on the open comms channel again. Could the survivor be close? Urgent. The broadcast echoes through your comms. Retrieval required. Conway network agents, please respond. You float beside Kadet, the two of you shocked to silence by the sight in front of you. Both of you have traced the ghost signal deep into the docks, all the time wondering if it might be the voice of a survivor, but you had not prepared yourself for this. In a corner of the docks, there is a nest of machines, a gathering of drones and motorized sleds, crane systems and docking clamps. A nest for the drone mind. Stop, please. The voice shimmers with distortion, relayed on the same carrier signal as the ghost broadcast. We wish to be recovered. You don't know the mechanics of what you're looking at, but you understand it. The drone mind fled here. But how? You exchange a look with Kadet, and she seems unsure of what to do. You switch your comms channel to the broadcast signal. I mean, look, we're not going to hurt you. Recovery requested. The drone mind's voice trembles with glitches. Confirm Conway extractions role and identity. You wonder what this mind knows. Is it just an interface designed to speak between humans and drones with the recognizable cadence of intelligent speech? Or is it a thinking machine? You hear a click as Kadet switches to a private channel. This thing is a weapon. Her voice is flat, unemotional. We should be careful what we say here. Confirm Conway extractions role and identity, the drone mind intones. Please. If we're gonna... Okay, here's what I'm thinking right now. If we're talking about rescuing, quote-unquote rescuing this thing, we're probably talking about either bringing it on board the ship or potentially, tethering it to us in some way to help guide it back to a place where it could potentially receive, like, maintenance and care, right? And what I'm thinking is, if we do indeed do that, if we allow this thing close to the rig and it finds out we aren't Conway later, that is putting a lot more people at risk than we have at risk here right now. And this is actually a moment where I'm really glad to have Kadet with me, because if something crazy happens or I get damaged in some way, I trust Kadet to be able to air bike us out of here. So I think I'm gonna break the news now, and maybe this will mean that we don't get to interact with this thing because it will just freak out or it will run away from us. But I think the potential consequences of a lie being found out later are just too high to risk. We are not Conway. There's a pause. You see Kadet tense. Please retreat. The nest shudders. Please, retreat. Leave us here. Look, Kadet hisses through the private channel. It's hardwired to the station. You look where she's nodding and see a single thick power cable snaking from an industrial wall outlet. The nest is clustered around the other end, huddling close to the fading power supply of the station like it's the dying embers of a fire. Urgent. The broadcast starts again. Retrieval required. Conway network agents, please respond. Kadet moves forward a little. I order you to deliver a report on your current status. This is a direct report from Conway Control. She turns back to you and shrugs. It's worth a shot. Confirmation impossible. Connection severed. The nest fades, then flickers back to life. Temporary bypass activated. Cognitive function, minimal. Power supply, minimal. Hardware, suboptimal configuration. No drone units connected. I am alone. The shift between communication registers, between formal and human, is unsettling. Are those the two genders? Code center compromised. Data extracted by third party. Self-destruct disabled. Purge protocol disabled. Parts of the nest fall away, the power draining faster as the drone mind attempts to draw more from the station. Please, the drone mind asks nonsensically. Please stop. Did you destroy this station? Kadet moves close now, bearing down on the nest. It is little more than a pile of broken machines, cowering in a corner as the power fades. Self-destruct attempted. Process failed. Hardware purge attempted. Process failed. Self-preservation protocol activated. Propagated through the station network. Station failed. Central failure imminent. Please stop. The machine in the nest begins to go dark. Please stop. Please stop. Kadet turns back to face you. Oh, it didn't do this. She sighs. It tried, though. Tried to destroy itself and take the station with it. She turns back to look at the failing mind, hiding in machines it was not built to inhabit. And it escaped into the network and ended up here. So, like, do I believe it's just a machine? I mean, that's... Where do you draw the line? Where and how do you draw the line, I guess, is, like, a really thorny question in a moment like this. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know, like... Is displaying self-preservation? I almost said self-preservation instincts, but it means self-preservation programmed behavior is certainly not instinctive and is certainly indicative of a different... Shit. I don't know. I mean, she's right. It did try, right? Self-destruct attempted. Process failed. So then hardware purge attempted and process failed. And at that point, the self-preservation protocol was activated. Or maybe, like, directly in response to... I don't know. It's a little hard to tell, like, exactly what it is that happened and at what point during the failure the next step was activated. I don't think I'm going to say it's just a machine. And it's clearly not responsible for whatever happened here, right? Well, it isn't responsible. Responsible or not, that's enough. Kadet reaches over and rips the power cable from the wall, leaving it floating. The nest shuts off, the broadcast channel going silent. The bay goes dark. What was left of the drone mind, whatever protocol or data escaped into these machines and their network, it is gone now. There is no hardware left to hold it. This is why Hexport was destroyed. The drone mind got out and entered the network. And who knows what it might have done. Could it have taken apart the station itself, overloading every system, opening every airlock? Was its drive towards self-destruction that strong? Well, someone didn't wait to find out. Its escape sealed the station's fate. Come on. Kadet glides out of the room, leaving you among the dead machines. Well, I guess that's an answer. It's maybe not the most satisfying possible answer, but it is the only thing that there is still to do here. So I guess with that, actually, we are just Out of here. Well, at least we know. At least we got answers. Junie knocks gently on the frame of the berth's doorway. Sleeper, can I show you something? There's an excitement in her eyes that makes it impossible to say no. Junie talks most of the way down into the HabPep facility, which is no short journey. She explains the scale of the data hidden within the station's mainframe, but also the issues with extracting it. When the HabPep was first expanded, when it became Darkside after the collapse, no one gave much thought to preserving the existing network architecture. She guides you through the substructure, picking a route through the maze of shuttered passages. They parasited their tech directly into the existing system, so now, thousands of cycles later, the two networks are totally enmeshed, dependent on each other. Junie takes a series of sudden turns, and you realize this is a very familiar route to her now. Messing with the Solheim network means messing with the systems that keep the city going. She leads you down a long corridor, one you recognize as leading directly to the core. Okay, I'm just gonna let her. She clearly knows something, and I'm very curious what it is. This meshing is not a good thing. She shakes her head. It makes Darkside brittle, fragile even. This place is on more of a knife's edge than anyone would believe. You look around. Certainly, the underside you are now traveling through looks cycles away from collapse. But all the data we've been extracting, that I've been archiving, it could help us here. It could help us clean up the HabPep systems. We could turn this place into an archive so that others could come to learn more about the ruins Solheim left us. Yeah, isn't that dangerous? While if I was directly cutting into the station's networks, yes, it would be. Junie sighs. So I'm not, and even if I was, it's too much for me to process or understand. But thanks to our visit to the bunker, I have a plan, and something that will help me. You arrive at the doors to the mainframe, and Junie suddenly stops. I spoke to Bliss. They told me... She pauses. I'm sorry, Sleeper. I know you have a lot to deal with right now. Listen, I'm fine. Junie looks a little confused. Okay, she nods. That's good to hear. I'm lying, obviously. Junie hits a button and the doors hiss open. You both glide into the mainframe, its columns studded with the blinking lights of active traffic. I got the idea from you, actually. Well, from you and Overseer. Junie glides over to the mainframe. You look at the mainframe, and you see now that it is surrounded by new terminals and wiring. Some kind of external access network Junie has set up. I've had to beg, borrow, and steal to get this going, but now we have safe access into the network. It's low risk. She moves over to one of the terminals. It's not quite finished, though. You recall the last time you were here. Lane, Overseer, the spear of white light, and then nothing. You wonder where Overseer is now, if they are anywhere at all. You remember how it felt, being dissolved into the network, the vertiginous possibility of life without a body. Something flickers through the lights, a shimmer of movement, like a fish beneath water. Sleeper? Junie breaks your train of thought. Are you listening? I was saying I need more data to finish preparing. I know, we've already extracted so much, but there's often so little of it that's usable among the bit rot and corruption. Where are we going to get it from? Well, Helion Gate is the place to get data. Apart from here, it's the biggest pre-collapse facility in the belt, and its hostile conditions mean a lot of it is untouched. If it's too much before your reboot, I get it. I just want to do something with everything we've managed to grab from the bunker and the wrecks. We pulled it from the dark. Let's expose it to the light. Junie turns back to face you. Well, this is what I wanted to show you. She looks away. I mean, it's very impressive. Well, it will be when it's finished, but thank you. Junie turns back to the terminal, and before long she is fully engrossed. You imagine she barely even remembers you're here. You leave Junie to her preparations and start your ascent to the streets of Darkside, thoughts of Overseer flickering in the back of your mind. There's not much to celebrate on your return from the remains of Hexport, but you're glad to be back here all the same. There's something surprising in that. Darkside as a haven, not a prison. The slowly occurring idea of this overgrown city as a home. As you've seen in Hexport, stability cannot be taken for granted, not anywhere in the belt. But Darkside has solidity and life that feels like it might endure. Kadet catches up with you. We need to talk. She looks around. But, not here. Come, I have something I want to show you. Kadet leads you deep into the heart of Darkside, through quiet corridors and bustling streets, on paths you didn't know existed. As you glide after her, the station seems to grow in your mind, its possibilities multiplied by the routes that pass through it. Just through here, Kadet leads you across a covered bridge, the view on either side looking down caverns of lit units. This close to the center of Darkside, the air is warm and the passages are quiet. Here, Kadet smiles. This is the place. She points at a low and wide entrance with storage racks inside. Next door is a smaller unit with a window looking out into the passage. It seems like a workshop, perhaps abandoned or never finished. It is dusty and dark. I've been keeping an eye on it. It's abandoned. She glides inside and slaps a wall pad. Lights flicker on, illuminating a constellation of dust. She floats in the glittering specks. Okay, so why did you bring me here? Well, when we've been on Darkside, I've been coming out here. I just happened to cross it, but I knew when I found it. I want to start again, Sleeper. She knocks on a metal wall. And this is where I'm going to make that start. When we saw it in Hexport, what's left of it, just confirmed it to me. We can't stop these people. We can't stop the war. She runs a finger along the storage racks. We have, what, the drive, our suspicions? Who can we pin this to? She looks over the workshop. I don't want to think about it anymore. I want to start again. I want to work, to ride my bike and courier packages till I fall into my bed at the end of the day with nothing left. Kadet picks up an old corroded tool from the racks. I want to build something here in spite of everything, in spite of the fact that they could take it all away. Because that's the point. To go on living without conceding. To go on building or trying to build something where we can find it. And that's what I brought you here to understand, so you'd know why I'm letting this all go. No, that makes sense. I do understand. You could do the same, you know. Kadet frowns. You don't have to beat ourselves senseless against the truth. My old life is gone. Clearing my name on the far spindle doesn't matter. The spindlejacks will have forgotten me. But this place... Kadet smiles. Well, this place doesn't know me at all. You know where the drive is and what it contains. You know what happened at Hexport. Kadet's eyes shine in the workshop lights. Take it from me. It's yours now. Or take it from me. It's yours now. I can't carry this anymore. I don't want to... So I'm not 100% sure what we should do this together means in this context. Is this Sleeper trying to convince Kadet not to... I don't know if we should do this together is we should do the thing that you're leaving me to do together, or we should do the thing that you're leaving to do together, because this game is not... it's frequently not very good at making clear exactly... Like, they like to give you what's the word I'm looking for here? They like to give you an ambiguous piece of dialogue and not clarify at all what your character means by it or how it will be taken. I think I'm just going to say I will, because I don't want to try to talk Kadet out of what she clearly seems to really need here. And the fact is, like, not meaning this to sound harsh or anything, we don't need her. It's not like her deciding to do her thing instead of our thing is going to end the universe or anything, right? Like, I want her to seek happiness. Yeah, I got it. She nods. Thank you. My travels are over. If you need to find me, I'll be here. Kadet smiles. Thank you for all you've done. I hope you can understand why I need to do this. She turns and disappears deeper into the workshop. You cross the bridge again, Darkside glowing on all sides. You think of the drive buried deep in some compartment within the Scatteryard's hub, filled with data worth destroying a station over. It's yours now. But you wonder as you cross back through the city, your mind racing, how can all this end well? Yeah, well might be strong. Well might be a strong hope. So we got a couple cycles left before it's time. Kadet's busy setting up her new courier service, which she won't be done with until after its reboot time anyway. So my feeling then is that we should get to Junie's. I want to do this thing for Junie, right? Finish the reboots, the thing that's going to happen. Deal with the drive. Revisit Olivera. I mean, I'm wondering a little bit what the structure of the rest of the game is going to be here. Like, is the game going to... Are we going to get a credits roll ending when we pursue the reboot? Because that doesn't... Unless... I'm very curious to see how they're going to structure the narrative around that, I guess, is what I'm really thinking. Anyway, Utsubo collapsed while you were recovering, but its members and enforcers are still on Darkside. I think our plan is to leave the station for a little while after this, so we should probably finish this job before we go. There are tunnels below the safe house that stretch across Darkside. Utsubo grew into this place like a parasite. What is it exactly that I am cleaning house here? They're being very careful not to put words to it. All right. You watched as the last stack of crates is guided up and out of the cavernous Utsubo warehouse. You doubt it will be long before this space is filled. Darkside will not tolerate a vacuum for long. The city takes every opportunity. Its inhabitants build in every crack and crevice. As Utsubo's spaces are cleared, they'll be occupied. The gang's legacy will be buried under factories, kitchens, markets, and housing. But the people will remember the cold and desperate grip they once held on this place, even if the city does not. Come to gloat, the voice takes you by surprise, and you turn to see Orin floating in the shadows, arms folded. He drifts forward into the pool of yellow light. You overthrew a tyrant. You should be pleased with yourself. His tone is flat, and you're unsure how to read his statement. Well, it wasn't just me. Many people did this. I suppose. Orin eyes you. But from what I heard, you burnt those pale eyes out of his skull. He smiles, a thin smile. I imagine that was quite the sight. You don't recall the moment of Lane's death. In fact, the abstract nature of that moment, almost dreamlike, means you had almost forgotten. You tense a little as his scream comes back to you, a screech of white noise bathed in white light. Orin is still watching you. He almost would have respected you for actually doing it. Orin inspects his knuckles. If he could have respected a creature like you. Yeah, what's up, Orin? What are you here for? Orin grins. I'm just to satisfy my curiosity. I came here to clear out the old disease, just like you. Utsubo had to go, and I came to be part of that process. You can't burn everyone you don't like out of this place, I'm afraid. Orin folds his arms. This is our home, whether you like it or not. I didn't like Lane. It's hard to imagine anyone did. He saw Darkside for the opportunity it was, and woke Utsubo from its slumber. He turned a gang into an administration, and a city into a machine. He was too erratic for my taste, perhaps, but he held this place. He shaped it into something, and I see that you have no intention of doing the same. So, what'll happen now? Orin meets your eye. You've created a space that must be filled. Will you take responsibility for that, at least? Well, okay, but it's not mine to fill, right? Is this not the point you're making, that it shouldn't be me? Then the answer is no. Orin shakes his head. You'll walk away and leave it to us to pick up the pieces. I won't shirk responsibility like you. Orin glares at you. I've been here longer than you, longer than Lane. This is my city. You suddenly see anger rising in him. You're just a careless machine. No idea what it means to be a person. Before you can respond, Orin kicks off and glides up toward the upper levels of the safe house, leaving you alone in the empty space. Though you do not put weight to his words, they still sting. Perhaps, you think, there's something to them. Who are you to decide the future of a city when your own future is falling apart each cycle? Is your decline a spiral that can trap others in its wake, or a necessary transition? The crisis before a new shape emerges? You hug your arms close to your side, suddenly cold in the stripped bare safe house, and ascend once more. Okay, well, I don't really know what we're going to do with upgrade points at this. I guess take an interface upgrade if I satisfy one more concern. We are going to need, not that, but we're going to need fuel and stuff. We could take a scrap shift. Junie needs one final batch of Solheim data to complete her work on the mainframe. So, okay. We actually have 4 of the 6 data she needs. I just need to bop out and grab a little bit more. It's good to know we're so close. Alright, the Dark Side Exchange. Definitely got to refill on fuel. Ought to refill on supplies. Well, you know, before we refill on supplies, we may as well. Here, kitty. Okay. It's been a couple of days. I'm not sure how reliable everybody else is at feeding. It's important that it get done. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there's a lot of other places for us to use our dice, and I don't really know that I do want to take a scrapping shift with these dice. I guess the 3 is probably fine. Like, we're not going to take damage, right? This is probably just going to hit us in the energy. Even if we did take stress on this, we're going to lose it when we travel anyway. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then I do think that we travel. Oops, that's not how you get to the belt. This is how you get to the belt. So, Scatter Yards is like 1,000,000 miles away. But the drive is still out there, right? Alright, let me start by going to Helion, because we know this is important. In theory, we're supposed to be able to get a little bit of data here. Yeah, data scraping, which is at least a neutral difficulty task for us at this point. The Gates networks collapsed long ago, but there's still data to be found in these old terminals and servers. It's gotta be +1, huh? I don't remember what we get on a neutral for that, but I'm willing to try to find out. Okay, or we'll just get lucky and we'll get exactly what we need very, very quickly. And then this derelict fuel barge, I'll throw a 3 at it. Okay, lose a little bit of energy. That's fine. And with that, I think we can just bounce. Right, 6 is all we needed. We're not going to be able to go straight here. I don't think we have a reason to go anywhere else, right? I mean, Olivera, I guess. But it won't even... Oh, we could go straight... Oh, that's not even Olivera. That's the Hollow. Right. Yeah, I kind of hate that there's no, like, more efficient way to do this, but there's not really a reason for us to go anywhere else. Bring the Solheim data to the Habpep. And do, like, we could go and travel to Olivera, maybe. But, like, in any case, I think we probably should go to Darkside. Although, if we're going to Olivera, actually, traveling to Darkside is not the most efficient thing. Maybe we hang out here for a cycle, try to pull some fuel. It would be better to make it all in one jump, right? Of course it would be. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna take it easy for a cycle here. Yeah. We need to pull 2 barrels of fuel, which is a single good result on the fuel thing, right? Oh, Bliss has been in touch, Sleeper. Seraphin turns and looks over his shoulder as soon as you enter the cockpit. He's sitting in the pilot's seat, running diagnostics on the console. They say they're ready for the reboot. Okay, did they say anything else? You know Bliss. Seraphin rolls his eyes a little. They worry. He turns fully in his seat. How are you feeling? Not bad. I know the reboot needs to happen, Seraphin speaks slowly, carefully. And I know the risks, I can see all that. But I also know what happened last time. He pauses. And I don't want you to forget again. To lose all this? He gestures around the cockpit. Everything we've done? Yeah, neither do I. Seraphin nods silently, unsure what to add. I'm not trying to scare you. I just needed to say that. I just needed to say that if the reboot doesn't go how we want, I'll miss you. I'll miss all this. I will too. I just thought I would. Yeah. Fucking same page, dude. If you remember. Seraphin laughs shakily at his own joke. Seraphin turns back to his pilot console. And whenever you're ready, we can go to Flicker Row. To Bliss. Seraphin pokes at the console in front of him. But if you have things you want to wrap up first, I understand. I would too. Here. Seraphin tosses an object across the cockpit, and you catch it out of the air. Take that with you when you go to Bliss. It's good luck. You open your hand and see a familiar metal disc. A coin, its engraving rubbed away to a little more than vague shapes and signs. Tala gave it to me. Now it's yours. You can't run from this forever, all right? He glances over his shoulder and smiles. We've done enough running anyway. He turns back to the console and returns to the diagnostics. You leave the cockpit and run a hand along the ribbed metal wall of the passage outside. Is it really possible that you could forget all this? All these layers of memory, of experience? Perhaps you can put it off a little longer. Take another tour around the belt, tie up loose ends. Or perhaps you've had enough of that. Why try to escape the inevitable? You try to recall how it felt when you awoke after Lane interrupted the first reboot. Even that is fading into hazy memory, told by an unreliable narrator. Maybe this is just the next step then. One of thousands that put you here, and the first of the thousands more that will take you onward. You come out of your thoughts still unsure, still aware that the decision of when to take that step, ultimately, rests with you. Yeah, see, like, that's another really good example of a situation where there's just, like, a really weird amount of really kind of, like, flaccid, useless text. Like, there were two paragraphs in there that were 100% for sure just, like, literally the game going, by the way, if you want to do anything, you should do it, like actual mechanical reminder stuff, and it's just, like, why is this here? Anyway. So we're going to go all the way down to the Hollow, from whence to Olivera, and then back to Scrapyard, and hopefully our body will hold up long enough. Because, like, the amount of stuff we need to get done is not about delaying or not delaying. It's about, we have stuff to do. We have things that we need to make sure get finished. That's just the way of it. And if there is some chance that I'm not going to come out the other side or whatever, I absolutely cannot allow this stuff to remain undone. That's where I'm at. Okay, Seraphin's coin is good though. It feels nice to be cared about. All right, so having refueled, we are just onward to Olivera. Stop! A shadowed figure meets you in the docking tunnel. No saboteurs allowed! Hey, kid. Seraphin glides forward and ruffles the figure's hair. Still playing sheriff? Nah, just bored. Xander grins. What are you two doing here? He glides alongside you and Seraphin as you drift through the tunnel. That's none of your business. Seraphin pushes past. No offense, kid, but you aren't actually the sheriff around here. I know, we just established that. This is such a weird thing to say, given that he just said, no, You pass through the familiar doors and back into Olivera, a surprisingly pleasant feeling. Oddly, like coming home. We spent 8 minutes here, once. You came! Cadence is there in the docking concourse waiting to greet you. I'm impressed. Seraphin's face immediately erupts into an uncontainable smile. Cadence, he turns to you. You two remember each other, right? Sleeper saved the colony. Cadence's deadpan answer seems intended to cover for Seraphin's awkwardness. Yeah, I remember them. The four of you descend down through the docking tower together and into Olivera itself. The colony looks much the same as when you left, though you pick up from Cadence that changes are coming. Well, Carmen's back with a vengeance since Darkside. Cadence smiles. He's all about expanding and improving the colony, which is why I asked you to come, Sarah. The nickname slips out, but both Cadence and Seraphin clock it and glance at you. As you reach the core of the colony, you see the increased activity. There are more colonists than you remember, and they move back and forth with purpose, carrying crates and tools, the chatter less than usual. We need all the help we can get to sort the place out. Cadence notices you watching the stream of freight and people. Carmen wants to do some kind of event, an anniversary, I think. Honor the founders and all that. Gonna be a big party, Xander grins. Can't wait. So, Cadence looks between you and Seraphin. What do you think? Up for some colony-mandated manual labor? She grins. Seraphin gives you a sideways glance, observing your response carefully. How could you say no? Okay, so there's nothing here like actually marking anything as new. Okay, but there's just a lot of pips to fill. All right, I see. Well, I'm plus on a lot of stuff. Yeah, we have some dice that could be thrown to refinery shifts here, I think. Let's go for that. To help keep it independent, Olivera set up a small hydrogen refinery. Yeah. We know how it works. I'm real good at the refinery. You work hard and quickly alongside the other volunteers, and the yields are good. This is actually a lot of pips. I know I keep saying that, but it keeps getting truer and truer. Alright. Taking a canteen visit with this thing has there's a hope here that we might get served. Okay. Yeah. Not so good, just the one energy. And then out of the farm stacks, we'll put the actual one in. Working together to run the farm stacks is a job shared by many colonists. The farm stacks are the heart of Olivera, and you are rewarded for your work there with a delicious meal. I didn't even realize they were going to do that, but that's very helpful indeed. Let's go ahead and get some rest. I assume that, we're going to acquire a second point of glitch pretty eventually here. I'm going to go ahead and throw this, even though I'm a little nervous about a neutral. Okay, why would I be nervous about a neutral? We don't get those. Working the scrap silos is also plus. Yeah, let's do a little bit of that. Sorting through gathered scrap for useful building materials, definitely a thing we're good at. You focus on sorting, and though the time passes slowly, there is a certain satisfaction to the simple labor. It's a thing we're good at, without a doubt. The sorting is tedious and tiring, but the simple work doesn't offer much risk. You do what you can. Okay, so even like a bad result there is still plus some. Let me try to get a decent result at the farm stacks again. Get ourselves back some energy, and then you know what? We'll throw this in here. So it's probably only one more cycle if we roll decently. Okay, we hit the 20%. Not bad. It's nice to have the opportunity to dump one of those and just try to get lucky, you know? Okay. I have to admit, I really did think our body was going to be, like, collapsing a lot faster than this. I'm surprised how much time they're giving us. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we'll do, like, we'll throw in some ones at the scrap silos. We'll put the 5 in at the farm stacks to replenish our energy once we're sure what we're getting. Oh, man, you get plus. You get plus on neutral result here, this is bananas. I assume the positive result must give you... It probably gives you, like, plus and also some scrap or something. And then we'll jump in here and crush a work at the crush a shift at the stacks. The past cycles in Olivera have been busy enough to take your mind off most things. All the heavy lifting and manual work has been a welcome distraction from the looming specter of the second reboot, and the good mood of the others has been infectious. Seraphin has been almost annoyingly upbeat, his relationship with Cadence the worst kept secret in the colony. But working alongside them, it's hard to ignore their deep feelings for each other. Xander's been happy because he has something new to rib Cadence about, and Seraphin, with his self-serious manner, is an easy target for pranks and teasing. Xander also hasn't been able to stop talking about the party, which he already seems to have decided will be one of the highlights of his youth. But now, finally, the cycle of the party has arrived. The canteen is done up with hanging light strips, waving gently in the asteroid's microgravity. The strips themselves salvaged from the emergency lighting of wrecked starships. That's not a sentence by its... I know it's weird to get mad at that one because they do this all the time, but for some reason this one really rankles. I don't know. It's been a long day. I might just be a little more thin-skinned about it than usual. With the work stopped and all the colonists yet to arrive, you find the reboot filling your mind once again. Growing like a shadow. Once again, comma, growing like a shadow. Something on your mind there? The voice takes you by surprise. You turn to see a colonist you haven't met before, an older man in some sort of supportive chair. His hair shot through with gray and his face sallow. I didn't mean to startle you. My apologies. His pale eyes scan you. Just seemed like you might need some company. There's a strange look in his eyes that you can't quite place. He's looking at you like you have met many times before, but you've never seen him before in your life. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? He gestures to the canteen with its hanging lights, his chair propelling him forward with little puffs of air. The young people did such a good job. Warms my heart to see it like this. Never thought this rock could ever be a home. He looks sideways at you. Have you lived here long? No, since the beginning, before there was a here. He smiles. Back when there was just a wreck and a rock. Well, let's not chat about me. I want to know about you. He turns his chair a little. What's eating you? The way you were staring at those light strips, it was like they were about to leap down and strangle you. His chuckle becomes a cough. Time is passing too fast. It'll do that to you, that's for sure. Just run away from you. He holds up a shaky arm, out on some unknown vector. I mean, that's just the truth of the world, and so many other truths rest upon it. We have our time, some too much and some too little, but it's ours, and in the end it's all we have to our name. That's not true for everybody. The colonist squints at you. Sorry, I'm not good with reassuring people. I just remembered that. He smiles. But I do like chatting. He looks back at the light strips. I mean, it's really lovely, isn't it? Just beautiful. You look back at the light strips now as the hum of people arriving filters into the canteen. There is something in the air. Anticipation. The sense of a rare moment passing through. Something to hold on to and then let go. The light strips really are beautiful. When you turn back to the old colonist to agree with him, he's already gone. Hey, sleeper! Seraphin pushes through the now gathering crowd towards you. I got you a drink. He offers a pouch of some amber liquid. Hey, Cadence comes up alongside you and hugs you with one arm. I wondered where you were hiding. She smiles warmly at you with her infectious smile. You think about mentioning the old colonist to her, asking her about him, but Seraphin hushes the two of you. Carmen's about to start. You follow Seraphin's eyes to the front of the canteen, where, above the heads of the now quite large crowd of colonists, Carmen floats, surveying the room. We meet this cycle, Carmen begins, his voice loud but clipped, formal in a way you haven't heard before, to first remember those founders of this colony, those lost and still with us. I will never forget the distress call that brought me here, to the wreck of the Pilgrim Seed. I will never forget the scenes that greeted me, and I know some of you were there too. A rumble of acknowledgement moves through the crowd. But I also know that many of you weren't. That many of you came here to help to take refuge from other troubles, and I'd like you to be able to remember too. You glance at Cadence, her eyes fixed with incredible intensity on Carmen. They look wet in the glow of the light strips. There were thousands of refugees on the Pilgrim Seed, and too many, far too many, were lost. Those from Ember's Step, Ember's Song, Ember's Hearth, those from the Three Sisters, from Erlin's Eye. Many are not here in Olivera any longer, taking their own paths across the belt and beyond. But we acknowledge them all, remember them all, lost and found, present and absent, because without them there would be no colony here. Before the wreck, Olivera was a handful of buried bays, a scrapper hideout, a place for old and tired mercenaries like me to hide themselves from the universe and forget what they'd done. But when the Pilgrim Seed was wrecked, it brought the universe back to Olivera, and I could not hide any longer. Carmen stares out across the crowd with a hard glare. We built this canteen from the Pilgrim Seed. We built our homes, our farms, our refinery. We built our independence from their failed hope. A rustle of discomfort goes through the crowd. Carmen pauses to let this settle. And we should not be ashamed or afraid of this. We will remember this gift, and we will build on it. This cycle, and every cycle after, we will thank them with our actions. The crowd mutters agreement. Carmen takes a deep breath and straightens up. A weight seems lifted from him, the weight of testimony. Now, here in this room, with you, I will thank them with my laughter. A cheer goes up. I will thank them with my joy, with my celebration. Another roar of approval. We will all thank them as loudly and as chaotically as we can. The room erupts into cheers and applause. Yeah, it feels like it would be sort of being a wet blanket not to join in. You cheer and applaud too. You whoop, and Seraphim laughs nearby. Then you feel a pair of hands on your arm, Cadence pulling at you, grinning and crying. And you feel another hand on your other arm, Seraphim dragging you into the crowd. Suddenly you're in the thick of the crowd, so many bodies in one room, dancing and spinning and shouting. It is like nothing you've ever seen. You notice the rest of the crew in the melee, a flash of a familiar face here and there among the mass of colonists. You see Xander being thrown up in the air by a group of different kids of different ages, laughing madly as he bounces off the ceiling. And for the rest of this cycle, you think about nothing else but the joy of those around you, and the joy it instills in you. You wake up in your berth, the same light that always shines on the belt shining incessantly through the window. You are slow to rise, slow to begin this fresh cycle. At some point, Seraphim arrives back onto the rig with no indication of whether he slept or not. You find him in the cockpit, leaning in the pilot's chair, looking out at the lights of Olivera and smiling. Good party, he chuckles. Not sure I've seen anything like it. How's Cadence? Seraphim gives you a look. She's great. She loved seeing you let it all go. He smiles. I did too. Seraphim yawns and stretches. So, he sniffs. Olivera's all fixed up, colonists are happy, blah blah blah. Where to now? Well, don't you want to stay? Here? Seraphim shrugs. Still a bit too much of a backwater for my tastes. He grins. Look, Cadence understands, don't worry. Seraphim pauses a moment, something passing over him that makes him shiver. I heard from Tala. He looks away. Wellspring is still in transition, but the Union Council's taking over. Kirk got what he wanted. The blockade will come down soon, but I'm not sure I'm ready to revisit that place yet. When I come back to Tala, I want to have something to show for myself, you know? I don't think Tala cares, man. No, she doesn't. Seraphim looks away. But I do. Maybe once the reboot is done, once the blockade is down, maybe we can visit then. We'll get there. Some cycle soon. You aren't sure if Seraphim is trying to convince you or himself. He stretches, shaking off his feelings. For now, though, the belt is ours to explore. Olivera filled our fuel tank, so really is up to you where to go. He gets up. And while you're deciding, I'm going to go dig up some breakfast. And he glides out of the cockpit. You take a moment to look out across the tiny lights of Olivera, dwarfed by the crater and the wreck that sits at its far end. Not bad. Not bad at all, you think. Okay, well, I mean, may as well, right? And with that, I think we can head back to the scatter yards and get the drive, right? And then it's back to the place. I guess before we leave, we have these dice, right? Olivera has an open canteen where Cadence prepares the colony's produce. This is the only space left. I was going to resupply. But, well, I mean, I guess we may as well. Let's go ahead and throw the 5 in there. We were missing 1 energy. And let's go. That's the wrong button. I keep right-clicking because right-click is how you zoom back out in every other instance in the entire game. Alright, to the scatter yards. The workshop of Kadet's data scraper friend is just as the two of you left it. You remember the cycles you and Kadet spent in here poring over that dark data, the strange fragments of the drone mine's protests seated among the cold code. You find the drive where Kadet told you it would be, in a compartment under the padding of a bunk lined with thick shielding that makes its contents undetectable. As you pull the drive out, the metal cold on your hands, you have a sudden urge to smash it to pieces. This object which escaped Hexport when so many others didn't. Someone, somewhere, wanted the data on this so badly they would spend any number of lives to get it. But something went wrong, some miscommunication or mistake. That's all it was, a tiny slip, and it all fell apart. Now the drive is in your hands instead. You turn it over in your hands. You know the drive contains Conway access codes, control codes, perhaps more besides. Data of great value, data that would win a war. You also know you're sick of thinking about it. Yeah, but I don't really feel like it's my call to smash it. We should give it to the people, let somebody else deal with it. You slip the drive into a pocket and close up the workshop. You head back to the rig, and as you do, you turn the drive over in your pocket, unsure what the next step might be. As you glide through the hub, you pass shipfitters and crews, all moving on their own vectors. It feels strange to carry the drive past these people, all of them totally unaware of the threat it might pose to them, or to this station. Excuse me. A stranger stops you in the passageway with a hand on your shoulder. Can I ask for your help with something? Their sudden appearance shakes you out of your thoughts. You quickly take your hand out of your pocket, off the drive. You look at the stranger in front of you. He's roughly dressed in a heavy coat, but he's otherwise unremarkable. You could have passed him many times before and not have known. I'm looking for something. He looks over his glasses at you. A little lost drive? Who are you? This matter concerns my client more than me. He leans back a little, his voice calm. So introductions won't be necessary. But the drive belongs to my client, and he would be very happy to see it returned. Suddenly, something catches your eye. A set of dice, like those used to play Star and Stoker. The stranger is playing with them in one hand, turning them end over end in the station's microgravity. And what makes you think I have it? Well, my search for the drive brought me to the scatter yards, but from here the trail went cold. That was, until you arrived. He pushes his glasses up his face. Then the trail lit back up again, just like that. Boy, it's weird that this guy managed to notice that immediately as it happened. The stranger moves his hand in his jacket pocket a little, and you see a shape in there, a box-like impression in the fabric. My client never intended these events, you must understand. One of their other contractors proved to be overzealous in an attempt to conceal their mistakes. The result was the regrettable situation you saw in Hexport. But for all that to be for nothing, well, that would be a waste beyond the original act, piling insult on injury. The stranger sighs. There's much to be gained in a system desperate for peace, for the war to be ended, and wars tend to end when one side concedes. You think the drive will win the war? The stranger laughs. My client will greatly benefit from its retrieval. Any more is hard to judge without seeing the provenance of the data. Only a few possible futures remain for the belt. My client will facilitate one of the better ones. That's why I'm here. But if you need additional persuasion, I am authorized to offer you 300 cryo as a reflection of your efforts. The stranger smiles again, his tone never straying from its businesslike calm. Now, can you return my client's drive? The stranger's hand shifts in his jacket pocket. You have the feeling this is not a choice you can deny. That is some lazy fucking adventure game ass. I don't feel like using that right now type writing. So, okay, we're pushed into this extremely false dichotomy of give him the drive or break the drive, as opposed to give him the drive or break his head open, because fuck this dude. I mean, I'm not going to give it to him. I don't know who he is or what his deal is. This sucks. I really don't like this resolution for the story. Like, the only options are destroy it or give it back, no matter what you do. I mean, I'm smashing it. Fuck it. You grip the drive in your pocket so hard the casing starts to crack. You see the stranger's eyes flash a warning. You dash the drive against the metal wall of the passageway, splintering into 1,000 shards that pepper the two of you with cuts and scratches. The stranger shakes his head. A regrettable decision. You hold yourself ready, expecting retaliation, but it does not come. The stranger simply turns and clunks away down the passage, not willing to waste another word on you. Your transaction is complete. You head back to the rig, and as you do, a weight lifts with each corridor, each junction. As you board the transit shuttle that will take you to Marco's yard, back to the rig, you think of Hexport and what is left of that place. You will never forget what happened to the station, but you will not let it steer your future. Kadet refused to be sucked into that web of secrets, and now you refuse too. There will be no account of Stenedstadt's crimes. There will be no reckoning. But there will be a life outside of the future they want for the belt. You know it. It's just not an ending to the story. That's really shitty. Alright, I guess let's buy some supplies and then get out of here. Yeah, that's not a good price. So deal with the export. This is actually done, so all that's left is to head back. I know we're past the hour, but I think we're like at the end. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. The game has already gone on longer than I thought it was going to. Another flicker in the dark before waking, and a numbness that follows soon after. You wake slowly and stare out at the flickering stars and the distant rocks of the belt. You let the thoughts of fear or panic wash over you. They pass like the soft dust of the belt, disappearing into darkness. You find yourself once more, as you do every morning, as you will continue to do, cycle after cycle, until you can't. You wonder what part of you has changed, what system is failing. Your frame is silent, its complaints only felt in ambiguous sensations. The glitches seem random, unpredictable, but also inevitable. They will only increase in number until you reboot yourself. But you do not know what lies beyond that. At least the glitches are dependably familiar. The reboot is anything but. Okay. So finally we've taken on the second point. Here is all of this data. Junie's thankful for the data. I have everything prepared. Just give me a moment. You've been waiting for what feels like a long time. Junie insists you can't help, so you find yourself floating in the baking heat of the HabPep mainframe, while she taps away at her terminal. As you do, you can't help but shake the feeling of a presence nearby, one that you are coming to understand as some remnant of Overseer. You don't know if Overseer was ever really a person, but now, with their many selves combined and dispersed, their consciousness expanding to fill the vast space of the Habpap and its networks, they surely aren't even close to human anymore. You think of them as a ghost, but perhaps now they are better understood as something less mournful, as a system, a process, a thing becoming. The entire station is their body. You can't help but wonder how that feels. And we are ready. Junie hits a key on her terminal with percussive force. It'll take a little while, but she'll be online in a few moments. That's okay. Those clauses do suggest things a little bit different. She looks flushed with excitement. She? Weren't you listening last time? Don't tell me you drifted off. Well, I was thinking about Overseer. Junie shakes her head. Then you don't know. A voice screeches out of the terminals. It descends in pitch from a squeal to speaking. Then, below the mainframe, a flickering projection appears, first as lines, and then as solid light. Welcome, visitors. Warden flickers and warps. I am the Warden. Please provide... The image jerks and freezes, then blinks out. Ah, shit. Junie taps at her terminal. I just need to reconfigure her for the Habpap environment. Well, how is that even possible? I found her, or at least an iteration of her in what we took from the bunker. Don't worry, I've taken precautions. She can't hurt us. The technician is right. Warden's clipped voice echoes through the cavernous mainframe bay. My protocol is operating under safe mode limitations. Warden's blind eyes stare out over your head. Do not be concerned, Officer Dahl. Sorry, I'll fix that. Junie chuckles. So, what about the archive? Warden is our archive. She can sort the data, act as an interface, answer queries from anyone who visits. Come on, you have to admit, this is pretty cool. You look at the statuesque figure of Warden, once at the heart of Solheim's intelligence-gathering operations across the belt. Could such a tool of corporate oversight ever be used for something good? Look, watch this. Junie turns to Warden. Warden, provide the last known location of every Solheim vessel above Riger class in the Starward Belt. Immediately, technician. Warden draws a circle with pointed finger, and it expands, filling with bright specks. At first hundreds, and then thousands. A constellation of sites. See? Junie grins. This is our future, built on the foundation of our past. These tools are ours now. You look at the arc of specks, the points of light describing the shape of a long-dead corporation's power. This is incredible. Junie smiles. It is. People need to know what this city, what this system is built on. And Warden can do that, expose that. It'll be up to us to reshape the ruins into something new. I knew when I saw her that I couldn't leave her there alone in the dark. I've been in that dark pit, and I won't condemn another being to it. Junie looks at the placid Warden. Human or not, how we treat her is a test of our own values, of the world we project. Data is not a currency. It is not a commodity. It is the immaterial output of a system, a structure, a society. Junie meets your eye. There will be a place to uncover that system, or this will be a place to uncover that system for ourselves. She looks around at the chaotic trailing wires and the floating terminals. Once I've cleared up a bit. You and Junie spend a little while longer in the mainframe, sorting cables and offering Warden casual queries. Not all of them return useful information, and Junie begins listing out the changes she'll need to make. After a while, you both find yourself tiring. Heads aching with all the fresh information you've crammed into them. So you close up the core and ascend back through the layers of the facility to Darkside's surface. As you do, you feel the history of each strata, the layers that make up this place and the belt beyond. Now, more than ever, it feels tangible to you, as if it contains not only the past, but the promise of the future as well. Hooray! Even more upgrade points! All right. Nothing else for it. Let's go see Bliss. You need to be rebooted to have any chance of surviving, but the outcome is unclear. This step will mean big changes no matter what happens. This is a cute way of metering access to this. You wait outside the shop where Bliss is set up and turn Seraphine's coin over in your hands. You are ready. You turn Seraphine's coin over and over in your fingers as you stand in Flicker Row, crowds pushing past on their way to whatever future awaits them. Your fingers glide over the worn metal as you imagine Seraphins have, Tala's have, in moments of anticipation. Perhaps others, before the coin came to be Tala's, have repeated the same ritual, the same nervous routine. But their fingers were human, born, not made. This intrusive thought makes you slip the coin into a pocket quickly, as if it had delivered a shock. You hear a hiss, and the door of the shop slides open, revealing Ankita. You see her eyes scan the crowds almost defensively before she spots you there and nods in your direction. I don't need to... We both know what's up. And I bet she thinks it's cooler if we don't say anything, right? This is real hardcore mercenary shit here. Ankita turns away and disappears into the lights of Flicker Row. You take a final moment and then will yourself inside, leaving the glimmering lights and the shifting crowd behind. Bliss is perched at a console. They turn as you enter. Finally, they smile weakly. You were making me think you wouldn't show. Oh, I'm ready. I'm sure Seraphine told you, but everything's ready. Bliss gestures to 2 couches with straps, freshly built connectors, and a bundle of wires at one end. I hope it'll be comfortable for you both. Yeah, you, feeling confident? As confident as I can be, Sleeper. Bliss goes over to one of the benches to triple-check the connector wires. This is uncharted territory for us all. You know, I've run tests and simulations, but each sleeper is different, and you, in particular, are so very different from your stock frame. Flint has been very patient in allowing me to use them as a reference point. Bliss forces a smile. Well, it's you who's doing me the favor, Bliss. Flint leans in the open doorway, watching you both. Their pale face seems even more drained of color than usual. Flint comes inside the shop and nods to you. Let's do this. They take a shaky breath. I'm ready. Flint and Bliss go silent, and the sound of the crowds outside filters gently into the room, mixing with the whine of the air cycler and the hum of the terminals. There's not much more to say. Bliss looks at you both. Okay, they pause. Let's begin. Bliss helps you and Flint onto your couches. You settle there and slide your arms and legs under the straps that will keep you in place. The connector, with its thick bundle of wires, waves above your head. It is hard not to feel exposed, lying here on your back, anticipating what is to come. It is even harder when the memory of waking up to this very same ceiling, with its bundles of dangling tech and scratched plating, forces itself into your mind. You've been here before. Last time you woke up to fear and panic, woke to a desperate escape and a shattered mind. A reboot interrupted. The thought sets you trembling. But then, staring up at the same ceiling, the trembling dissipates. After all, you're back here now, and that means you survived this crisis and grew from it. You took the hit and bounced back, unbeaten. All good there? Bliss's face floats into your vision. Yeah, all good. Bliss smiles. How about you, Flint? You turn your head to see Flint lying beside you, stiff and still. They manage a tight-lipped nod. Looking at Flint staring up at the ceiling like you were a moment ago, you feel a rush of sympathy. After all, they haven't faced this before like you have. They are stepping into a future they cannot see. You have been here before. Now you are just completing the journey. I am going to reach out to Flint. This feels like the caring thing to do, right? You raise an arm, reaching across the gap between the couches, and your hand touches Flint's. They do not look at you, but they grip your fingers in theirs tightly. Flint's fingers feel different from human fingers. The thick vinyl skin, the repair patches, the pressure of the metal skeleton beneath. You know this is what your touch feels like too, and that recognition is like a connection being made. You close your eyes and feel something flowing between the two of you, a solidarity so embodied that it reverberates within you. I'm connecting you to the terminal. Bliss's voice already feels distant, lost in the noise. You feel the cold click of the connector, the sense of flowing data. I'll be here when you wake up. In the dark, you feel restless. You shuffle your fingers, adjust your position against the couch. It takes you a moment to notice the sound has gone. The rumble of the crowds, the hum of the machines. This detail unsettles you, and so you search for reassurance. You think of Bliss's words. I'll be here when you wake up. You focus on them, on the possibility of waking up, of being somehow renewed. But what would that renewal look like? Your eyes blinking into the lights of Flicker Row. Bliss, Seraphine, and a renewed Flint beside you. But what then? It's gotta be travel, right? I don't think Seraphine's ready to be in one place, and I do think if he was ready to be in one place, it wouldn't be this place necessarily. So I think it's probably more travel. A line stretching out on a screen, a vector leading you ever onwards. Why stop now? But how far does the line stretch? What does it encompass? Maybe somewhere else. The belt is just an edge, a stopping off point, and little more. A line could be drawn as far as anyone could imagine out here. And why not? The vector does not always know its end. But what to imagine? The distances are so far that your ability to perceive them fails. If this is your future, do you really want it to be the fiction of an escape? Or something true, something known? There are paths right in front of you. Their apparent nature makes you focus on them. This soft curve of rocks bridging the edge of the system and space beyond. There's enough here for a lifetime, maybe more, emerging in the shadow of the collapse. But where does the vector terminate? I mean, I think it's probably Seraphine and Olivera, right? It's probably Seraphine and, For a long time, you thought Seraphine would run forever, but something changed in him. First in Wellspring, then Olivera, that haven amongst lifeless rocks. Perhaps that place might orchestrate a shift in you, too. There is a future in that colony, one more fresh and fragile than anywhere else in the belt. It is built weld by weld, refugee by refugee, promise by promise. An image, one such promise made by Seraphine to Cadence and returned in kind. A celebration that rumbles through the colony with joy. And in the aftermath, plans are made, ones that will take an eager lifetime to fulfill. What more could you desire than the ceaseless project of building a future for those you love? The thought arrives with a solidity and power that settles your mind. This is what it means to live. Then you feel it, the insistent pulling of a thread, the unraveling of your very self. The reboot comes on slow, an icy seeping into your mind. Little pieces of you flake off in the flow, fading with distance. You hear a voice, Bliss's voice, so far away now. You reach for it, stretch your every sense towards its familiar warmth. I'm starting the reboot. It is a whisper into the wind, pulled away from you the moment it is spoken. See you on the other side. All of a sudden, you wish you could make it stop. The incessant entropy of time, the tumbling of rocks through space, getting further apart every cycle, disappearing into the vacuum ahead. The decay of cells, the degradation of code, the corrosion and rot and rust. You wish in this moment to freeze it all, so you might hang on to it, preserve the warmth, the light, the softness at the heart of things. This thought grips you, tears into you like fear. You feel the ice creeping in and know that everything will be lost. If not now, then mere moments away. But then you feel it, impossibly. Seraphine's coin, worn smooth by worry, turning in your hand. Time has been pressed into that coin by hands, by fingers. It is a near infinite record of transient touches, each one shaping it in some small way. It is worn and worthless. It is bent and broken, and it is beautiful in all of those things. And so you press your thumb against it, your crooked, calloused thumb, again and again, because you are a broken thing, and you have nothing left but that brokenness, and the beauty that shines through it. And then, somewhere nearby, a button is pressed, and all at once, one thing ends, and something new begins. Okay, I was a little afraid they were gonna text themselves out of that moment, because that's the ending. That's where it ends. But they've been so bad about that, especially the last couple of areas. Okay, well that's Citizen Sleeper 2, and this one only made me cry a little bit. Yeah. Obviously there's a lot in that ending bit that speaks to me. They definitely finished with some of the strongest writing of the game, which I suppose is a pretty good way to do it, but it's hard to forget how sort of like, I don't know. I don't want to go from something so beautiful immediately into editor video game complainer mode, because like that was beautiful, and we should take a moment to like recognize that and sort of sit with the feelings of it. But like, I'm gonna take a drink. What I'm gonna do is take a drink, and y'all just do that thing I said. Okay, now we're at the part where the complaining is happening. This was okay. This is all right. Overall, I think this is a lot weaker than the first game, and I wonder if this is sort of like, you always got to think like with the first product and then a second product that follows shortly-ish after. And I guess in this case it's not so shortly, but like you have to wonder how long that first one was sort of like, even beyond active development, even beyond active, editing and rewriting or whatever, how long was that cooking in the person's mind before they finally got it down? And then how much less time did they spend on the second one because they kind of spent the thing they had and had to come up with something new? I don't know. But this was definitely, I think, more uneven than the first one. It showed a lot of the sort of weaknesses that I felt the writing of the DLC to the first one showed, and especially, holy crow, the grammar, just like, it almost seemed like the only times he would use a comma were in places where where a comma can't do that thing. I know that doesn't matter, but no, I don't. I know I'm supposed to say it doesn't matter. I do think it matters. I think it matters a whole lot, and it did like kind of wear on the thing for me a little bit. Overall, I think it sticks the landing, but yeah, I don't know. What am I supposed to put a number on it? It was an experience. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm happy that we went through this together. But that's going to be it for Citizen Sleeper 2. Hey, look at that. We did it. We made it to the end. When you come back next time, here we've got something that's quite different with quite a different tone, and probably will result in me spending less time reading text per episode, which, if I'm honest, I have to admit I'm very much looking forward to. So come back next time for that, and we'll see you then.